What I'm about to say next will completely go against everything you are told online from motivational gurus, from preachers, and so called millionaires on social media. And that is to get rich slowly. That is to achieve all of your accomplishments slowly, to achieve any of your targets slowly, and most importantly, to obtain material items slowly in a stage by stage, checkpoint by checkpoint system. Do not rush the process to obtain these things quickly. And there's two reasons why that is. Now, the first reason as to why, which is actually not as important, in my opinion, compared to the next point I'll tell you, the first reason is if you try to obtain these things quickly, it is normally through a method of get rich quick. And if you believe in something such as get rich quickly, you're going to learn just as quickly that you will lose your money just as quickly. So forget about it, because anyone that has obtained riches quickly loses them just as quickly as well. But the most important reason why you must do this slowly, especially for those material items, whether it's cars, the gold house, the watches, chains, whatever it is you want, designer shoes, I don't care. The most important reason is because it gets fucking boring very, very quickly. Now, when you do not have these assets, and I am telling you all of this from personal experience because I have everything I physically could have wanted, and I have had everything I physically could have wanted too from a very young age. And I don't really get excitement from anything anymore. Now, there's pros and cons to this because, of course, I'm not mesmerized by material items anymore. In fact, I buy things mostly out of boredom and get bored of them even quicker soon after. But in the beginning, this is why it's very important before you have obtained these items. Let's say it's a supercar and that's your goal, or it's a watch, whatever it may be. There's so many things to want and pursue in this day and age. But we'll go for the key examples for most people, which is supercars, especially for traders, and watches. And you will be more enticed to obtain these, especially if you are a trader, because it's what every single trader has. And it's the sign, it's the status symbol of allegedly a successful person. They're actually a lot easier to obtain than you think. But more importantly, before you have these items in your possession, and whether you are leasing one, owning one, whatever it is, if you do not have one, it becomes one of the greatest driving forces and motivational factors in your career path. If you do not yet have it, and you see everyone else with one, which unfortunately in this day and age, seemingly everyone fucking has one, it will drive you to your goals. But when you obtain that item, you will very quickly realize that the novelty wears off rapidly. And before you know it, as much as you may tell yourself now, that would never be the case. I guarantee you, once you get it and you own it for long enough and you use it long enough, whilst it will bring you satisfaction that will probably never fade, this goes for watches, bags, whatever it is, it will get boring. And the quicker you try to obtain these things, and the quicker you do obtain these things, the less you have to pursue, the less you have to look forward to. And this is a big problem, I feel, because most people in this day and age are fixated by what they see on social media. You're blinded by a facade most of the time, anyway. But when you see those people that seemingly have everything, there is a very high likelihood that, like myself once upon a time, these individuals have everything they could physically want. So all they can do at this point is continuously upgrade higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And they're not doing that necessarily to even flex anymore, but it's more so because you're now trapped in a bubble of obtaining so much so quickly that all you can physically do is try to upgrade to the next best one. And then you get caught in a never ending cycle of pursuit and misery. This is why billionaires still off themselves. This is why billionaires are, in many cases, still miserable, as we've seen, and we've seen stories of this. And why is that? because you end up in a never ending pursuit. And the truth is, whilst these are motivational tools and absolutely motivational tools in the very beginning, and one of my main driving forces when I was significantly younger in my teenage years was to own a supercar. And that goal and that obsession with owning that supercar and wanting to drive one is one of the contributing factors to what got me one in the first place. Now, using my own personal experiences, I had my first McLaren, I believe it was at 22 or 23. I don't remember the exact age. 3 years later, I believe, I got my second one. Now, soon after that, I started ticking off many things off my wish list, specifically after the 2017 crypto bull run: private jets, luxurious holidays, supercars, you name it, clothes, designer, 250,000 a year on clothes, stupidity, watches. I was doing it all, and I've done it all, and I got most of it done. And this is not a flex. I got most of this done by mid 25s. I would say by 25 or so, I had ticked most of that off my list. But at that point, when it happened so fast and so quickly, and all of the things I desired and dreamed about were in my possession, I very quickly realized they do not last long from a satisfactory basis. They bring you joy and happiness, of course. You're not really going to be miserable in a McLaren, but you soon run out and lose that same burning desire you had in the beginning. The same is said for £1,000,000 for me. And this is my personal experience. And you've had enough of it and you've seen it long enough, it no longer gives you a thrill. It no longer gives you a desire or hunger, even, because it's almost not enough at this point. Because the issue is the same as anything. In fact, the best comparison is your current iPhone. When you first get a new iPhone, let's use something more universal as an example. Because what most people do not realize is, because you do not dream, let's say, of an iPhone, you don't dream about it. It isn't the reason you kill yourself and slave away, whether it's in the markets or whether it's at work or running several businesses or selling loads of products doing e-commerce. You're not doing it for the end goal of getting an iPhone. But what most people fail to realize is those assets that are driving you to push and succeed in life and level up will soon become the equivalent of an iPhone. There's satisfaction looking at it, there's satisfaction in knowing you own it, but you will very quickly and most likely lose the drive. And once it becomes a form of complacency and something you have normalized in your life, you will lose that hunger. So the reason I'm doing this video is to remind you that you shouldn't actually want to obtain these things as quickly as you believe you do. Because I fell into a rut myself where once I had everything, there was nothing else really to look forward to anymore. And I find that quite sad, because the key element of this is you begin to lose gratitude. It takes gratitude and it rips it from you, because you no longer appreciate when you have everything you could physically ask for. And going back to the iPhone, what do most of us do? Every single year, we go and get a new iPhone, or every other year. But do we really get excited beyond the first few days or week of owning that iPhone? When you first take it out of its shiny little stupid packaging, you hold it in your hands and you compare them side by side, knowing they're not really that different anyway, there's a brief glimmer and a brief moment of satisfaction. And soon after that, you couldn't give a fuck. The phone screen's cracked, the corners are chipped, you've dropped it several times. But you know, when you first get that iPhone, you always tell yourself, I'm going to look after this, I'm going to cherish this, this is my baby. And this goes for a pair of shoes, and this goes for a car, this goes for everything. But the difference is, with these highly glamorized and less obtainable items and material items, we put them on a pedestal to believe that they are the end all and be all to our solutions and problems and the answers for everything we should strive to achieve in life. I can assure you they all very quickly become the iPhone. So the longer it takes you, the better it actually is. And I don't think anyone will ever tell you this, because they want to sell you a dream. And they want to promise you that if you do this, especially online gurus, you know, people that even do what I do, people that have crypto and trading mentorships, They want to sell you that dream that, bro, you can get this car too. You can get it quickly. You can have this watch. You can do this. You can do that. But that's actually the worst possible thing you could try to market or sell to someone because you're sabotaging their life. If you actually look at most billionaires, do you really think they're satisfied knowing they can obtain everything at the click of a finger? And furthermore, they're in the same rat race in theory, but for a whole different bracket. The rat race is still a cause and effect at a higher tax bracket, by the way. Most billionaires will buy a yacht for, let's say, 50 million. But then if their friend has a yacht for 100 million, do you think they then feel satisfied, or do they then feel inferior that they now need a £100 million or dollar yacht? It's a never ending pursuit. And when you get the item you want, you will very quickly want the next one and the next one, which in theory is a good source of motivation. But I can assure you, nothing beats the thrill of working and chasing the item before you actually obtain it. Because once you get it, that drive and burning desire will eventually fade away. Just like everything else in our lives, once we have it long enough, it no longer becomes our prized possession. But because these items that most people pursue and seek to obtain at some point in their lives are status symbols and symbols of success, which you absolutely should, by the way. I am not saying do not chase these items. In fact, these are the items I chased, the items I use to motivate me to become a millionaire and obtain these things in my life. But my experience is, once obtained, especially quickly, the novelty fades the fuck away. And for most people out there, they will never know this until they experience it themselves. But the problem is with these items, and the problem is with social media, is we are made to feel like we should have it now. We are made to feel inferior, like we are failures and we are not successes or doing well in life because we do not have a supercar or a watch or whatever it may be. It could be a Louis Vuitton t-shirt. You know, there's so much that people flaunt and so much that people use to make others feel inferior, when in reality, it doesn't matter if you don't have it now. What will also be broken down in another video is the key to motivation, the key to achieving your goals. And these are all individual topics I can talk about for years. But as a brief example and a brief contributing factor to this discussion, to obtain the goals and wake up every single morning to continue fighting when there's going to be failures, setbacks, hurdles, and all of the things that we must endure to obtain and reach the next level. Having those items out of reach, in many cases, are the driving forces that give you the energy to get the fuck up when you fall back down and continue fighting to pursue those items. So there is no harm in delaying the process. Instant gratification is a plague. It is a disease. It is fucking poison that is polluting the minds of teenagers, especially due to social media. Everyone wants it now. But I can tell you there is a absolute beauty in obtaining these things gradually. Delayed gratification, prolonging the results, prolonging the big milestones. Do not aim for everything in one go, because soon you will have nothing to aim for. You will be mind blown. And I'm sure anyone that has these items and has obtained these material factors in life are likely relating to this quite a lot. You can put on a brave smile and say, yes, yeah, no, I still love it. It really brings me joy. It may do. But I guarantee you that burning desire is no longer there once it's obtained. And this is the reality for absolutely everything in life. But delayed gratification allows you to endure the whole process. It allows you to survive. It provides longevity. And this is a very misunderstood and often overlooked element of life. You do not want to aim for it all at once here. If this is the start, you want to do it in a systematic manner where you set one major milestone for every checkpoint. And do not go for the biggest first. That should be your end goal. As an example for myself, one of the last large purchases I made was for a Richard Mille, an RM055 Bubba Watson. I have been able to buy one of those for the best part of many, many years now, but I purposely didn't. And it's interesting because on social media, a lot of people would say, when RM, when Richard Mill, when this, when that, because I had a collection of stainless steel AP Royal Oaks. Now, again, this is not a flex. This is me being real. I'm going to break down why I done this systematically. And that was because I learnt my lessons from the supercars. I have not had a supercar now in 2 years. I got rid of it 2 years ago now, I think, or a year ago. I don't remember. Either way, it's been a while now. But it got to the point I was sick of the car because of the attention it brought, because of the envy it brought, the hate it brought, the evil eyes it brought. It actually brought me less joy because it brought me more problems. And this is also another factor that most people do not consider. It will bring you, in theory, more problems, which can equal more misery. And once that honeymoon period of obtaining most of these items is done for, you will lose and fall out of love of it anyway. And again, this video is really just to remind you that you're not doing bad in life. You're not failing if you do not have these things. There's nothing wrong. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. You are doing exactly as you should be. And not having these items in your possession does not determine your worth or who you are as a person. And going back to my story of why I started doing things in this way is because I got bored of supercars. The only thing that truly I really strive for that motivates me these days is number one, family, and number two, traveling. There's nothing I love more and will always guaranteed find joy in is traveling because there's so many places to go, there's so many places to experience. And even in a singular country, there are so many places to go, it could never get boring. For me, that is the best form of driving force and motivation, experiencing different cultures, experiencing different countries, places, food, all of that stuff. I love it. I love architecture. I love ancient history. That can never get boring. And that is a great motivating force. But with watches as an example, this was one thing I was very intelligent with. I started off with a Tag, then moved up to a Cartier, then a Hublot, awful watch, and then a Rolex. And then I moved on to APs. And what I did was systematically buy four APs, if I'm correct, four AP Royal Oaks. Stainless steel, no gold, no open work, nothing. And for most people, it was, well, why don't you get the tourbillon? Why don't you get the diamond bezel? Why don't you get this? Why don't you get that? No. Because bezel by bezel, color by color, I slowly worked my way through the collection year after year. And within the space of about 3 years, I didn't buy them all in one go, but this is just an example of what I did. Although I could physically obtain significantly more, I decided to delay the gratification to appreciate this. Every year, after significant milestones, I would treat myself to one. And if I exceeded my expectations, I would buy another one, but not necessarily increase the value of the reward, which is going to take me to my next point. If you pursue the largest thing, and even if you can, I would highly advise don't fucking do it. Don't rush it. This is the beauty of delayed gratification. If you are able to sustain, treat yourself, even though you know you can, there is actually, in my opinion, nothing more rewarding than being able to afford something but not actually buying it, sitting on your hands. Because this will not only build discipline, it will give you something to work towards. I know it's crazy, but if you set yourself a goal, knowing that you can already buy something, but you could make up a fabricated rule that actually, no, the rule isn't I need to buy it 5 times, I need to buy it 10 times. If you make up a rule in your head, you begin to create a new goal and a new target. So even though, and this is really the secret to staying driven when you can already buy what you desire, and many people fall into this hurdle where you work so desperately hard to obtain something, and then you get it and think, fuck, now what? What's left? This is probably how people and these billionaires end up at these Diddy parties because they've just got nothing less to work towards. So, like, fuck it, baby oil, let's go crazy and have a blast. Like, there is probably a point, which I'm unfortunately, I guess I should say, not at yet, where I am at that billionaire status where I go, oh, I don't know, let me become a sex freak. I'm not at that level, but it seems to be a characteristic of most people that can seemingly have everything. Maybe at that point, you just start doing crazy shit. I don't know. But the point is, with delayed gratification, the journey becomes more satisfying, the journey becomes more rewarding. And that's why only this year, after over a decade of theoretically being able to buy one at this point, I sat through each Audemars. I cherished it. I wore it. I enjoyed each dial individually, the color, and I would just admire it. And eventually, then move to another color. I didn't upgrade the watch. I just enjoyed a new dial. Slowly but steadily appreciating that watch every single step of the way. And only for my 30th birthday this year did I finally go for the RM and upgraded. And the reason I'm actually doing this video as well is because now I'm bored of it. Now it's just another meaningless material item that is cool and expensive that people can go, wow, wow, he's got money. But does it actually bring me joy? No, not really. It means fuck all to my life. It's a watch. Do I appreciate the craftsmanship? Absolutely. I love it and adore the craftsmanship. But does it define me as a person? Does it mean I'm more valuable than the next person next to me? Well, maybe in traditional terms or social media terms, yeah. But in reality, no, it doesn't. And as a matter of fact, I've kind of got to the point now where I'm just thinking, what next? I've done what I really need to do now. And I've actually prolonged it as much as I could. And now I'm like, well, what next? And this is the problem. Whilst you can aspire to then go higher, like, do I buy a private jet next? Is that the next goal? Maybe. But do I want a private jet? Well, yeah, it would be cool. But do I actually want that? No. And this is where things go horrendously wrong. Because, again, I'm being real with you guys. And I don't think many people would tell you stuff like this. This is just me being real. There gets to a point where the meaning and the desire no longer becomes genuine. For me, the key driving force to succeeding and achieving your goals and breaking the norm is to have a burning desire, a deep passion and love for what it is you want to achieve. But it gets to a point where that desire fades the quicker you obtain things and the more you obtain them. And the reason for that is, using this example, well, I don't really care about much anymore now. So my motivational sources, again, predominantly come from family and travel, because those are the two things especially that continue to give me that burning desire. But beyond that, anything I truly buy from a material standpoint at this point is mostly boredom, because I can and I just do it. But there's no real meaning behind it. And in fact, the novelty wears off most of the time by the time I've got home. And I'll just look at it and go, cool, why did I just do that? And then on to the next one. It also becomes a never ending pursuit of meaningless, literally meaningless. There is no meaning behind it. And for me, meaning is so important, because nothing will be the first ever day I got my tag, I got my Cartier, the first ever day I got my Rolex, I was like, man, you've done it. And then the Hublot, I was like, man, you've done it. And then the Audemars, I was like, oh my God, the AP, I've wanted this for so long. And then the RM, I was like, I've done it. Now what? What do I do now? And this goes for the cars. When I first got my McLaren, I don't think there has been a greater feeling in the world. For me, the best feelings I ever experienced in the world was flying private for the first time and buying my first supercar at 22 or 23, whenever it was, because I'd done it younger than most people, which was kind of insane. But simultaneously, it was such a big milestone. It was almost so fucking surreal that at my age, I had done that. But it damaged me very quickly because it was normalized to the point where everything I aspire to achieve and everything that I thought I would eventually have in my 30s or 40s was in my possession now, which means for the remainder of my 20s, and I've only just turned 30 this year, that driving force and that burning desire I had to get to where I was vanished. And I had to pursue new meanings, which is interesting because at this point, nothing I pursue anymore comes from a burning desire for material items. And you will very quickly realize that those material items are great to own and a great status symbol, And most importantly, I consider them a trophy of achievement and accomplishment. But I would urge anyone that feels inferior or like they're slacking and falling behind in life because they don't have them to actually embrace the fact they do not have them yet. Because the best part of the thrill is chasing the fucking thrill of owning that item. Because once the item's yours and the honeymoon period is over, it will quickly fade away. So stop paying attention to what you see online. And I used to be that guy. I'll be honest, anyone that's followed me since like 2016, 2017, I was that guy because I was still that guy pursuing that thrill. That kid just chasing that dream. Like younger me, just an absolute retard of a teenager with more money than sense. Of course, I was like, this can be you too. And looking back now, which obviously I wouldn't have known until I get to this age where I actually experience more and mature, that was the wrong message to push. And I'm so glad I stopped doing that the moment it got boring from like 24, 25, because the past 5 years for me have really been a complete different agenda in terms of the message I push. And when I say an agenda, not an ulterior motive, but more so an agenda to promote positivity and things that are very different to what others continuously promote. I sometimes get thrills from these things and I sometimes post these things. Why shouldn't I? I've earned them. I've worked very, very hard to obtain these things. I should be proud of them. They're trophies. But realistically, you should not feel bad. You should not feel inferior, and you just shouldn't feel negative about not having these things yet, nor should you want them quickly. Once you become normalized to the things that are not necessarily that easy to obtain in life, you will significantly struggle finding motivation moving forward and will likely fall down either a very dark path or lose motivation entirely. Now, in my opinion, motivation will eventually fall off throughout life regardless. This is where discipline comes in. And that is, again, a topic for another day. But I think there is a beauty in the chase. And I think there is nothing better than the beauty of the chase, because that is what will get you to where you need to be. But instead of going straight for the Bugatti or whatever it is, straight to the private jet, do it slowly. Do it slowly. Go for the Rolex first and appreciate the Rolex. Caress it, kiss it, lick it, hug it, do whatever. Cherish it. Gradually work your way up. And if you're now in a position to go further, set yourself milestones, because this is the beauty. If you use these material items, if that is your motivation, now let's be honest, it is a motivation. So many people, let's be real, bullshit. I'm going to make millions and give it all to charity. No, the fuck you're not. And the only people that genuinely say that are broke people. Because anyone that actually gets money has a bit of common sense that most charities are bullshit anyway. You're not going to do that. And if you did, you're pretty foolish for doing so unless you started the charity yourself. Because I certainly wouldn't give all my money to the incorporated charities we see. It would have to be under my own accord, and I know where the money goes. But let's be real. A lot of people say they will do this, they will do this, they will do that. No, they won't. But if you are able to obtain the money and you use these assets as the real driving force, which I think are great driving forces, why wouldn't you want these things? If you don't care, fair enough. You have something else that motivates you. But so many people use bullshit excuses when in reality, the people that hate on these items are the people that want them the most deep down. And this is another video, I guess, in theory for that as well. There's so much I can talk about. But I find if you use it, more importantly, as a driving force, let's now say your goal is to obtain and one day own a Lamborghini. If the motivation for that is enough to get you through all the pain, trials, and tribulations to be in a position to afford one, don't fucking buy it. Do not buy it. I know this sounds crazy, but you are going to run out of motivation and you will flatline yourself quickly and throw yourself into a meaningless void of an empty chase. Instead, buy a car lower down the food chain. Buy a watch, shoes, whatever, lower down the food chain. Enjoy that first. Do not skip hurdles, because once you jump into the deep end, there is no satisfaction. in the shallow end. And you will need motivation because this is important. Once you obtain something, life doesn't stop there. And this is another issue. A lot of the time we tell ourselves, what's your dream number to retire on? There is no dream number. Because once you obtain that dream number, the same way when you obtain those material items, you won't be satisfied and you will want more and more and more. But it becomes meaningless. And there was actually an interview, and there's been many studies on this where they interview people with $100 million and say, do you feel you have enough? And they all say the same thing. No, I don't feel I have enough. We are just very strange creatures, unfortunately. We want more. We always want more. We're never satisfied. And to crave that hunger and curb it, I would highly advise to get rich slowly, obtain it slowly, and achieve everything you want at a gradual pace. Do not rush the process. And you will fuck yourself up by normalizing these things because I'll be honest, I've been doing this for a very long time now. I've been in a great position in life for a very long time. And it is normalized to me. There are times I am in places which blow my mind when I look at it. But there's almost an internal battle where I've done so much of this and so much so young that it's normalized, and I almost fail to truly appreciate the things I do sometimes because it's just normalized. And this is probably the case on a million times scale for those that have billions and billions of dollars. What will bring you joy anymore when everything is there available at your disposal and you've done it so much? You know, you may visit a place for the first time or go to a restaurant for the first time. It may bring you satisfaction, but nothing ever beats your first bite of a Big Mac. That was just a random example. But truthfully, that is the case. Nothing ever beats the first experience ever. It's like a lot of people that, smoke weed. They'll smoke weed and nothing beats your first high. And then you become a stoner and you don't get the same high anymore. It's the same as an alcoholic. The first time they drink may be joyful and they'll recover quickly if they're young. But once you're an alcoholic and it becomes normalized, you need more and more and more to feel the same result. And truthfully, do you ever feel any better? No, you just feel a void by consuming meaninglessly. So if you want to enjoy as much of this as possible, the first thing to do is realize there's nothing wrong with not having it now, and you shouldn't feel bad for not having it now. Delayed gratification, for me, is one of the key driving forces to survival in life. Do not rush the process. Most people won't tell you this. I'm here to tell you the truth.